Competency number 4. Was the lesson plan adapted, when appropriate, to help the pupil work towards their learning goals? Now, there's two things that jump out to me with that, and that is when something is in, or words are within commas, like it is in this question and this competency, and it's remained on the DVSA marking sheet, that shouts to me to notice me. It says when appropriate, which I'll come to in a minute. Also, if we look on the whole, every single competency in lesson planning, we will see that number 1 and number 4 are connected again, and that is with the words learning goals. Twice now we've heard learning goals, which tell me a learning goal is what this test should be about, what we should be planning. However, this has an underlying tone to me, this question, that it's almost like when things go wrong, or it's called being human. And DVSA have recognised this, that things don't always go to plan. No matter how well we plan them, no matter how much we've looked at the learner and their learning need and goal, no other industry does the classroom move at 30 miles an hour. So that is recognised. This is the DVSA recognising that and saying, as long as you notice that that's not going to plan and you adapt the lesson when appropriate, you will still be doing your job. This is the first time as well that we see one of the 3 core comps that you should all be doing. If you're not doing the fault finding, analysis, excuse me, and a remedial action, please start doing it. That's your job. That's what we're all getting paid for. So we identify a fault, we then analyze it. I like to do it with a question. So what are the issues of what we've just done there, or what's just happened, what could have happened? Ask the learner, get them to reflect, which we'll come to later on, and then we put in the remedial actions. Shall we go and do that again? That to me is this competency. So was the lesson plan adapted when appropriate to help the pupil towards their learning goals? Now, the learning goals, it may not be the exact learning goal, but their learning goals of becoming competent at driving is within that same framework. So I'm going to give you an example of what can happen, because from what the feedback I get from the examiners who are examining PDIs, is that this is one of the competencies where trainee instructors can fall down on, and I think experience as an instructor, the more experienced instructors will know how to deal with it, because we just know what's coming up. We tend to see a slight movement in the learner that we can ask them what they're thinking before they're about to do something, whereas someone who's not as experienced in that area may miss body language or their eyes. Not everyone, but there are quite a few who fell down on this part 3 marking sheet, fall down in this area. So I'm going to give you an example. You've set up your learning goal, you've focused on a need, and you've picked a theme. Let's just say we're taking a partly trained and we're looking at we're moving on to, we've got an issue with roundabouts. Let's say we've got an issue with roundabouts in terms of judgment. So by the end of the lesson, we might be trying to help the person get better at observation and judgment, and safe when approaching and leaving roundabouts with less help from me. Then we go off. This is where consistently they've been great at junctions, and then as soon as we leave the test centre, we've had to dual them straight away because a cyclist may have come out of nowhere, and that learner just was not ready. We now have an issue. So if that is ignored, or if you continue pushing ahead with your lesson theme and your lesson goal of roundabouts and don't deal with that issue, we've got problems then. That's what we're getting paid to do, is teach someone to be safe on the roads. We're not paid to continue regardless and ignore that problem. Even if that learner recognizes in themselves and mentally or verbally beats themselves up, there is that also that term, when appropriate, that we need to take control. We've recognized that's about to go out of control. We've told them we're just dueling you there or just breaking you there. Have you seen the cyclist? Oh my God, no. Handbrake neutral, secure the car. And this is where those two words, when appropriate, comes in. We would then say, when you're ready, we'll just get out of this junction safely, and when it's appropriate, we'll pull in when it's safe to do so, and we'll discuss what went wrong. On pulling in, we would then ask them what happened. Why did we not see the cyclist? Or can we talk about what went right first of all, and then can we ask them where they were looking, or were they anticipating a vulnerable road user at the junction? If not, why not? And with that in mind, can we go around the corner to maybe come out of another car park, or even emerge to turn left or right, whatever you were doing out of the test centre, and ask them to slow down earlier, anticipating that cyclist or pedestrian is about to run out at the mouth of that junction, and therefore they will be mentally ready. The clutch should be down if they're driving manual, disengaged on the engine, and we're ready. We have then, if we've got a success, if that was successful after we've done it again, we may do one more and then pull them in and ask them, are they happy? Or keep them moving. Are we happy with that? Are we back into anticipating? I might need to step up with my instruction, but we have at least adapted that lesson when appropriate. So we can't just start chatting to them at junctions and trying to coach them there and then. We will find a safe place to pull in, identify, analyse. This is your remedial action, in my opinion. And we adapt to the lesson to suit that learner. Don't ignore the faults. Identify, analyse, remedial action. If a fault goes wrong, let's deal with it. We may sometimes need to step back in your syllabus to junctions just for a few minutes, just to get them back on track. Then we'll continue with what we originally were planning to do. So this is the DVSA saying we recognise things go wrong in a learning environment, and as long as you adapt the lesson to suit that goal and to the learner's goals and the needs, then you will be meeting this competency.